I've made my party, bear with. Right, that should be a little bit better. Right, welcome, Gprl, round 4, and if you don't watch our Twitter, then you should, Gprl PS4, there's a link on our Instagram page. But Jarno actually managed to snatch pole right at the death. Great qualifying session, followed by Raul, Marcos, the new Gprl reserve, who's racing at 4 today. Then there's Hugo, who got, I believe, qualified down in P7, but there were grid penalties for Merjan, who was P2, Ryan, who was P4, I believe, and Dan, who was P5. Ryan was P3. Apologies for that. But yeah, so we do have quite a shaken up grid. Do expect people like Merjan and Ryan and Dan to come through. And it'll be interesting to see what Jarno and Raul can do off the line. Will be very interesting. See the run down into turn 1. Something else to note, Marcos is on the super soft tyre. His pace was very good in qualifying, so I do expect him to make an impact on the race. And a new thing we have for today, which I've learned, we need to put the tyres on to tell me what's on. Because if not, things happen like last time. Anyway, we go to 5 red lights for the start. Gprl Season 3, Round 4, slides out and away we go. I believe Marcos did get a jump start. Jarno's not had a bad start. We got Ryan trying to go all the way around the outside into turn number 1. He keeps the vision. Merjan is up into P3 already. That's an incredible start. It's going off further back. We got the Toro Rosso. There's contact further back. I can't quite see. There's a car round. I believe that's Yannick getting caught up as Marcos is round. As Karim has dropped back. Yannick, I believe, also involved in the collision. As that's Sean going up the inside of Stan. Dennis is up to P11. Meanwhile, Dan fighting his way through the midfield. As we look further forward, it's Jarno still ahead of Raul. He's in Raul's sights as we look further backwards now. Not Merjan. Merjan, yes indeed, Merjan does pull out into the inside. Can he make a move down the inside of the chicane? This has been an incredible start. The two championship rivals side by side into the chicane. Raul holds the position for the time being. Marcus has left the session, sorry. Quite disappointing for him. As Merjan having an incredible start. I'll have to see his onboard as he goes down the inside into the fast right-hander. Raul's shoved off track. They're going to be side by side into the double left-hander. Merjan has it. He's up to P2 temporarily though as Raul comes back in. He's going to do the switchback line. He's going to try to go all the way around the outside. But Merjan has it for the time being. It's been an absolutely incredible start for Merjan. Up into P2 from P10, so he's gained 8 positions on the opening lap. There was definitely some contact, so something the stewards will have to look at later. But it's now it's going to be all about Raul if he can keep it together. As Merjan does make a mistake, goes off track. Got a bird's eye view here from Alessandro's cockpit as Jarno sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Raul in Merjan's slipstream looking to go around the outside of turn number 1. Can he make that happen? No, he can't. He's going to have to tuck back in for the time being. Very close to his rear wing then. Looking not to chop off a bit of front wing. As pretty manic start so far, a lot to commentate over. As Raul again looking around the outside, little look up there as Yannick has a 5-second stop and go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That's not great as we got Raul all over the back of Merjan, and this is just going to benefit Jarno as he's pulling away all the time at the start. As you can see, so close, he's closed up to him before the left-hander, which is very very early to try and make a move. He's breezed past Merjan in a straight line. Clearly Merjan's running much higher wings than the Williams of Raul. Merjan not going to be able to make an attempt into the chicane. Raul back up into P2. As we look further back, we've got Alessandro, Ryan up in P5. Both Toro Rossos having a good start. Steve P6, and here we have another Gprl newbie. This is Harrison driving for Williams. As he's pressuring Steve, as there's been a crash, and Jarno's out of the session. I'm not sure what's happened there. I'll have to have a look later, but that's been an absolute disaster. As that's Merjan. Merjan's gone off. It's all kicking off right now. Alessandro up in P2. Ryan takes the lead of the race. No, Raul, sorry. So I can't keep up with all this. Everything's going on. Ryan in the hunt for P2 as the race leader crashes out. Could it have been contact with Meriden as Raul sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix? Looking a bit further back, Ryan not going to be able to make an attempt into turn number 1 as we've got Steve up in P4 setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He's going to have a good view on what's going to happen ahead. You can see Alessandro going very wide there. That's not going to benefit them. So look further forward. Is Ryan going to be able to make an attempt? It's probably smart if he sticks behind. We got a 3-second time penalty for Karim for corner cutting. So that's not going to benefit him. As lap 3 DRS is enabled, Ryan will have DRS. So I can imagine he'll be full DRS, full everything. As Raul is not getting away too much at the front. So as we look further back now to Raul, you can see on the dashboard overtake mode enabled. Alessandro does have DRS on Ryan though. Raul, sorry, I keep making this mistake on Raul. So that may be his saving grace for the time being, as order stays as it is. But we look further back. Steve gets a good run out of the hairpin. Ryan lagging around a little bit. Steve having to be careful not to lob off part of his front wing, as whether he'll be able to make a move into the right-handers or not, we're yet to know. Ryan does go a little bit defensive, but as we look further back, is this an issue for Dan? Yeah, Dan's out the session. Another retirement. I believe has Stan been caught up in that? I'm not quite sure, but yeah, interesting. Not sure what happened there. There's obviously going to be a lot for me to look at. Someone keeping in his nose clean. Dennis up in P8. Good start from him. He's going to be going very long, so he might be a factor at the end of this race as he's closing down on Simon up ahead in the Saab. Is the VSC enabled? Will anyone to the back of the pack come into the pits? I have a feeling it might be a little bit too early, so I don't think there'll be too many gains. Does Hugo pit? No. So to give you a little bit of recap of the start, we got Stan does dive into the pits. He gets a 5-second stop and go penalty. To give you a little recap of the start, madness, I think is the right word. Absolute madness. If you're just joining us, then I suggest you come back to this when it's finished and rewind the stream, because Jesus, it was a very good start. It's been all over the place. Virtual safety car just cooling stuff down for the time being. Notably, the top 3 all on ultra soft tyres. Steve, as there's a green flag, DRS enabled. Not a great restart for Steve, as Harrison's going to look to go around the outside into the chicane. Can he make this work? Late on the brakes. Steve a little bit later on the brakes is now Harrison. Steve going quite wide. Whether this will benefit him or not, we'll yet to see, as equally the other Williams not having a great start, not as good as his teammate, as Alessandro is all over the back of him now, as I don't think he'll be making a move, but Ryan might be making a move down the inside of the 2 right-handers. This is going to be a good move. He can pull it off. There's a little bit of contact there. Ryan lucky not to go around. There's also a yellow flag. Not quite sure who that is for. Oh, that's Simon who's gone off the track. But as we look back, oh, there's Steve. Steve's gone off. Not Steve. I believe that's Alessandro's gone off. There must have been contact there with Ryan as both have fallen down the order. Meriden back up into P4 after his early incident. As now you can see quite clear in sight Harrison and Steve, as Raul does go into the pits. So that's quite an early start, indicating that it may be a 2-stop. You can see the mechanics getting out the super soft tyres for him. So that'll be interesting as we look further forward now. We have Steve on the super soft tyres, running quite a clean race so far. He's done well. As far as I'm concerned, he's got no front wing damage. And you know, he could be on for the win today. If everything goes his way, I believe he can have a good race, but never count out Meriden. As you know, he's a very good driver. He's been on pole 3 out of the 4 times, or 3 out of the 4 times. Yeah, that's correct. A little bit of oversteer there for Meriden, but he's closing up to the Williams of Harrison, as Hugo in the Red Bull sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Red Bull looking to score their first point today. Can Meriden make a move down the inside? And no, he can't. He's going to try set up a move for later on. Dan is up in P4 doing a good job keeping his nose clean. He's done well so far. Karim P5, my old teammate, doing well. Sean, has he pitted? No, he hasn't pitted. So he is the last of the people to not pit so far. Behind him we've got Raul, who has pitted, and we'll look at his sector times if we can. I don't know if we can, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, we'll put the intervals up. So it will be interesting to see where he comes out in comparison to Meriden, who is his championship rival. And Meriden closing up on these two. Merrition will go into the pits though. So as Harrison attacks Steve for the lead of the race, Merrition pits. Will Harrison be able to make a move? Bit of movement from Steve in the braking there. Could may need a look at later. But for now, Steve stays ahead of Harrison. As Harrison, just like Ryan did earlier, Harrison will be looking for a run down the back straight. Whether he'll get that run or not sure. Steve goes all the way over to the left very early to try and break the slipstream. And here we go. Harrison in the slipstream. In his first Gprl race, he's looking to take the lead. He can't do it under braking around the outside. Maybe he'll get it into the fast right-handers. As choosing to opt not for the slipstream immediately. You can see he's not tucking in properly, so maybe he doesn't want to make a move too soon, or just set him to move. As Steve does go quite wide, but he's too far back to make a move. As we look a bit further back, other than the battle at the front, I don't believe there's too much going on. No, there's not. So as we look further forward, Steve, lap 6, the end of lap 6. Steve holding on to P1. I believe this will be his first win in Gprl history if he can keep this. So it will be interesting to see if he can or not. But Harrison looking very punchy in the early stages. It's unknown at this time how long these super soft tyres will be able to go. I can predict around 15 laps, maybe a bit longer. It depends how they are on the all new tyre temperatures. If they can keep those under control, then it might be longer. But if they can't, then it will be dramatically shorter. As on board with Harrison now, he will get DRS onto the next lap. You can see Steve taking a lot more curb than Harrison is, so clearly attacking the track a lot more. As this time, will he be able to get a run and get up into P number 1? As you can see, Steve again very defensive. Again, Harrison choosing not to take the defensive line, but instead to go all the way around the outside. Steve moves back in the braking zone, and yeah, weird. This is weird from Harrison choosing not to take the slipstream, but I'm sure Steve isn't complaining. This time he does choose to tuck in directly to the slipstream. As all the way through the fast right-hander, he's much closer now. Can he make a move down the inside? No, he can't. Steve doing a good job of holding on to this position. So far, as you can see, there's quite a bit of tyre conserving going on at the minute, not wanting to push the tyres too much. And as these two battle, just watch the gap to Dennis behind. He's been closing in over time. Karen's been closing in on Dennis, and Sean's just been sat out there, a bit of no man's land really. He doesn't have the pace today, I'm not gonna lie, but it'd be interesting to see with him going long and on a one stop. I can imagine it'll be interesting to see how far he can bring himself up the order. There's a yellow flag in sector 2. Anything happened? Oh, that's Stan. He's gone round. He's off the circuit. That is... Oh, he's off again. Oh, no. As Steve has a 3-second time penalty. Yeah, Stan's hit the wall. As we got Harrison going round the outside now, conceding the position for the time being. Merrition sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix on his fresh super softs. As Harrison, he's already got it calculated what he wants to do. He's much closer. Sean gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings of cut in the corner. As now should be the time Harrison gets the move done. Can't quite see in the little Williams dashboard, but I can imagine he's got the ERS turned up fully. Again going around the outside, and again not being able to get the move done. Steve doing a very good job of keeping this place. You can see getting quite tail endy though. As we go on to the second of the straights, there's a yellow flag in sector 3. Anything that I can pick up? Nothing that I can see so far, but we've got Sean, who has been overtaken by Ral. Sean choosing not to go back on the attack smartly because it would just lose him time, and possibly gain them penalty if he makes contact. And yeah, notably Karen has closed in within DRS range of Dennis, so this is for a podium position. Karen does have to make one less stop than the likes of Raoul and Merrition, so yeah, Karen could be in for a good result here if he can not get held up too much by Merrition. As we look further forward, not an absolute massive gap to the guys out ahead. They haven't extended it absolutely massively. As you can see, the Saber after the accident staying out, I believe, I'm not quite sure, But right, here we go. Harrison around the outside of turn number 1. He's a lot closer this time, but can't make it work. Harrison not seeming to be able to make the moves work, but he gets a lovely switchback line. He's up the inside nice and early. Can Steve do anything about it? He's side by side with him at the time being. Side by side into the second sector. Merrigan sets the fast off the Grand Prix. And Harrison is past. A little bit of a hold up there from the Sauber being lapped, but you know, doing what he can, and it looks as if at this point in time Steve's tyres are overheating. You can see the understeer he was getting through that sector. I don't believe he will have DRS. He won't be close enough though to make a move. I'd be surprised if he gets a dive from there. Saying that though, he is closing quite significantly. He fakes to the inside just to scare him a little bit, but yeah, I don't believe Steve will be able to make a move, as now I feel as if Harrison will drive off. As we've got Dennis, he seems to close and then lose a bit to the guys ahead, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Meanwhile, we have Merrigan catching back up to the Williams of Raul. Merrigan has had incredible pace today, and if it wouldn't have been for the few mistakes, then maybe he'd be out in the lead. He probably would be out in the lead, but just the rest of this race, as we've got the little glitch where Merrigan's engine is lagging out, revving out, so we'll have to stay off board with him for the time being. Ryan, on the same strategy as his teammate. Yeah, not doing too bad, definitely better than his recent performances. We got Yannick down in P12. He had a good race last time out, so maybe he can recover. Don't count him out yet. As Steve, you can see the understeer Steve's getting, so Steve definitely has some overheating tyres, as now it's just 0.5 of a second between Karim and the Force India of Dennis, the only Force India racing today, that is of course, as we're 10 laps into this Grand Prix. You can Karim, I've seen this multiple times today, not pushing massively into some of the slower corners, really trying to conserve the tyres, as we've got Stan in the pits. His first Gprl race, he gets a new front wing, as Steve nowhere to make an attack, as Karim might be somewhere to make an attack. Dennis defends early. We're going to see what Karim can do. He's not full on the Eros mode, only in high. Can he make a move into the braking zone? No, he can't. Little lock up there from Dennis, but he doesn't have to worry about his tyres. He will be able to go quite long, and possibly onto the ultra softs at the end if he can make this work. Karim back in the slipstream, as Yannick gets another 3-second time penalty for multiple warning. Really pushing it is Yannick, as Karim closer to Dennis than before, but not able to make a move. He's going to have to conserve some ERS, so you can see on his steering wheel. He also seems to be conserving fuel on higher gears. But oh, there's Merrigan going round the outside of Raul. Sorry about that, I was watching the battle ahead. And this is a battle between the two championship contenders. Merrigan ahead of Raul into the final sector. Merrigan still revving out, so I'll have to stay off board for as long as I can. Meanwhile, Raul keeping the position. Raul getting a lot of understeer though. Merrigan, little touch there. There may have been a touch, I'm not quite sure. A little bit of oversteer there for Merrigan there, as yeah, will Merrigan be able to make a move? We'll see down the straight line, as we did see earlier that Merrigan was running higher wings, it seemed, to Raul, and that's obviously going to make a difference. So Sean has made a mistake into the pits. He's hit the wall going in, and that's not going to benefit him in any way, shape or form. Ryan says thank you very much, and goes up into P7. As meanwhile I've got Merrigan still pressurising Raul. Raul really sandbagging into the slow corners to try and get a best run as possible on Merrigan down the straight, using all the road and a bit more, as now he's blasting down the straight. Merrigan does have DRS. I'll try to stay off board because I understand that the sound isn't the most the nicest, as breaking down into the chicane. That's Merrigan up into no, it's not. No, it's not. I do apologise. Not having a great day. Merrigan looking around the outside now of Raul, who looks to see what he can do, push Merrigan out wide as possible, but Merrigan breezes past him, and yeah, it also looks as if Raul's getting quite a bit of understeer, so maybe he has overheating tyres, as yeah, it just proves how crucial the new tyre heating thing mode is. As we got another yellow flag in sector 2. Someone made a mistake. Oh, that's Stan round again. Disastrous race for him, as he does retire from the session. He won't be picking up any points today, as in GPR we do run a 75% race rule completed to get points. Now Dennis still ahead of Karim. I believe Karim's tyres are going to start to go off soon, as we do have who's this? Harrison and Steve in the pits, as Alessandro gets a 3-second time penalty for cutting the corner. Oh, that's a spin for Simon. He's round. That's not good. Quite a few issues with traction today. Maybe that could be the rear tyres overheating. Which is interesting because there's nothing that I've seen before. But you can see Mergen's already pulled out a 2.3 second gap nearly to Raul. As it's Harrison, who could be on for the race win actually. He's got 9 seconds ahead to Raul and about 10 seconds to Mergen. And he doesn't have to make another start. It does say he's on super softs. I do apologise for that. There's a little glitch online. It has been for years. I can confirm Harrison is on the soft tyre. If not, you can see on the board next to where all the names are. He's on the soft tyre. I have to run that because if not, I will get myself confused quite a bit. Denny's running well. He's extended his gap to 1.6 seconds ahead of Karim. Whether Karim will pull into the pits or not is yet to be seen. Yeah, the super soft's going off earlier than I anticipated, and as I mentioned earlier, I believe it is all down to tyre heating. Can Karim get the car slowed down into the very weird pit lane that is France, as he is in the pits, and he's going to go onto the soft tyres to the end of the race now. Mergen inherits P2 with another pit stop to make though, so bear that in mind. He'll probably go into another set of super soft tyres, I would imagine, as all the battles on the field seem to have ironed out a little bit. That's Raul in the pits. I believe he may have got a new front wing, which may indicate why he was quite slow, as he does go onto fresh super softs. It's going to be interesting to see where he comes out compared to Hugo. Is Hugo close enough to possibly make a move? No, he's not. You can see him just emerge at the end of the pit lane there. And that's him out in P7 without another stop to make. Here we look at the McLaren of Yannick. Quite a quiet race, quite a dull race for him really. I believe he does have one more stop to make. Yep, as he stopped at the start of this Grand Prix. Alessandro will be going to the end on these tyres. Simon, he's made a few mistakes, also has another pit stop to make as Sean, who is closing up to the back of meanwhile, Alessandro gets a 3-second time penalty. Mergen is up into P2. Yeah, already discussed that. Can Sean make a move down the inside of... oh, bit of a lock up there. Nearly a bit of contact. Not quite sure what happened there with Simon. Clearly really struggling on the ways if he's getting oversteer like that. But I was just quite blown away. Sorry for my delayed reaction. Yeah, really blown away as... just getting a load of oversteer in a place you really shouldn't get oversteer. As meanwhile we have Steve clearly going better on these soft tyres, as he's closed right up to Harrison. 0.2 seconds, a little bit of contact there. He does go down the inside of the last corner, surprisingly not waiting. Not leaving a tenth of a second on the table. As he gets DRS, he's going to breeze past him as Harrison's tucked back into the slipstream. And I believe that is Steve back into the effective lead of the race. It's now up to Mergen to do whatever he can to extend this gap as far as he can and really make it. Oh, that's Simon off again. He's really struggling. I'm not sure what the problem is, but yeah, clearly an issue with his car. As we have, oh, that's Hugo into the pits for his 1-0 stop, I believe, today. Is this Simon's round again? He's not had a great race there. I'm not quite sure what the issue is. Maybe he's struggling with traction. I can imagine the rears are screaming at the minute as Yannick is in the pits. We're just going to watch him through the file. You can see, yeah, his rears are dead. Absolutely dead. As he's going to have to spin it back around. Yannick into the pits for soft tyres, I believe. Yes, soft tyres. As finally Simon is able to say goodbye to these super softs. Into the pits he goes. Right, here is Mergen closing up to the back of Dennis. An absolute race to knots. Dennis says, you can have this position. There's no point Dennis fighting. Mergen has to make another stop. They're both on completely different strategies. As Dennis dives into the pits. Very early stop there for Dennis. There's 13 laps, left in the race. He will be going onto the super soft tyres. earlier than I expected, I'm not going to lie, onto the super soft tyres, pulling out the pits. Give me a chance to see where he ends up. We got Ryan coming into for his final stop of the day today, probably onto another set of super softs. We got Karen, who is freshly on a set of softs, comes out ahead of Dennis, but crucially Dennis is ahead of Raul, who may or may not be able to do something through the first sector. You can see as Dennis getting used to these new tyres, it's going to be crucial for Dennis to warm these tyres up as quick as possible and then get away from Raul, because Raul is, you know, he's known to be a very fast driver. He won the race on the track in Australia before being bumped down due to a penalty due to parc fermé conditions. But you can see Raul closing up does seem to have a little bit more confidence in his car. As we look forward, there's just a second between Harrison and Steve now. But further backwards, we've got Raul in the slipstream, who will have DRS. I believe he's going to get past Dennis. No questions asked, thank you very much. Cutting across him quite a bit in the brake zone there. Quite aggressive there from Raul. That may need to be looked at after the race, as he gets a nice run out of the chicane. I don't believe he'll be able to get have a look into turn number 1. No, what am I on about? Genuinely, what am I on about? I was going to say P1, Merrigan, he's got his lead, I believe. He should pit about now. Yeah, into the pits. Merrigan comes. So he will go onto another set of super soft, I do believe, as that is horrible hearing his engine lag out. As Steve takes the lead of the race without any stops left to make. So the podium will go, presuming, we got Raul over the back of Karen. This will be for the final podium position. Without Merrigan, he forces Karen quite deep. Raul gets a lovely run out the final corner. He breezes past them, says thank you very much. Takes that position quite nicely. Karen is on the softs, as we have Merrigan come out just behind the Mercedes and the Williams. Merrigan on cold soft tyres, as he will be looking to warm those tyres up as fresh as possible and get past his championship rival Raul, who will now be chasing down Harrison, who, although it does say he's on the super soft, he's on the soft. And then there's Steve up in P1, doing well for himself. He's drove a good race. I believe if he gets the win, this will be quite an incredible win. Because he didn't qualify, up there. I can't quite remember where he qualified. But now we have Dennis on the back of Merrigan, I believe. I don't believe he'll make a move. I'd be surprised. Yeah, it doesn't make a move into the chicane. I think Dennis does realise that these drivers are faster than him, and it'd be smart of him to sit back, let all that go off, and possibly make up time. You can see 4 cars in in the picture of one straight there. As we look a little bit further forward, Raul not blistering away, as Yannick gets another 3-second time penalty. Cutting corners. Yeah, Raul not speeding off into the distance. From Karen keeping him very honest, if I must say, as but I don't think it will be long until Merrigan does get past him. As you can see, setting up the move, Karen quite slow through the penultimate corner, as into the final corner now. Karen a little bit deep, but getting quite a nice run, good on traction, and I believe he will have that position. I don't think Merrigan will be close enough to make a move. As now we look at Alessandro, who's just 8 tenths away from Ryan, who's in P7. He's gained positions, Ryan, so there is that positive to take from the race. As Karen going quite wide there, Merrigan, I believe, will bite at the scraps, see what he can do. I don't know what that analogy was. I do apologise. I've had a long day at school, people. Allow it. Karen deep into the right-hander, wide again, so maybe his tyres are overheating, which is bad news, as we saw earlier on. Merrigan in slipstream. Karen almost going off this track as he pulls to the inside, but Karen around the outside. I don't believe he'll be able to make a move, as that is Merrigan up into P. Is that no up into P4? He'll be able to chase down Raul now. This is Simon, who's about to get lapped by the likes of Raul, Merrigan, Karen and Dennis. There was a brief yellow flag up in sector 2. I'm not quite sure what that was for. Couldn't see anything. Meanwhile, Steve extends his gap to 1.6 seconds. That sort of stayed there for the time being. It's Harrison on for a podium, his Gprl debut. Can't complain with that. You've got Raul up in P3. Behind him is Merrigan, keeping him very honest on fresher tyres. So I do expect this battle to be something. This is like the Australia V2. This is the first time that personally me, broadcasting the race, has seen these two battling as Merishon sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, pulls to the inside. Can he make the move stick? He's going to try. Around the outside is Ral, but it's not going to work. Merishon gets a lovely switchback line. He's up into P3, unless Ral can do something about it down this main straight. You can see it does look... Ral doesn't seem to be as good on his tyres as Merishon does. Merishon seems to be, very good on his tyres. As now Merishon has about an 8-second gap to close to Harrison. Yes, Harrison, who is in P2. And Steve up in P1. Good race so far from him. I believe there's a lot of gaps ironing out at the minute. There's not many on-track battles. So I think it's just time to reflect on the race. Wow. That was very entertaining race. I'm not saying it's over yet. I do believe Merishon, who's taken a second out of Harrison, this race will spice up towards the end. As just check the audio. Can't confirm the audio is working. We're gonna watch Yannick's live stream. Let's have a look, see how he's doing. We'll have a look. You know, get a little bit inside information for all those watching at home. As yet, now 6.8 seconds to Harrison. So, you know, Merishon, these fresh tyres are really helping him. Meanwhile, Yannick, on his live stream, go subscribe to him by the way, Hulls House the 14. He's got 16 seconds to the car ahead. Sean, I don't see that coming down before the end of the race, although he does have fresher tyres. 2.2 seconds now is the gap to the lead. Further back, it's 6.2 seconds to Merishon. 1.6 seconds, you can all see this for yourself, to Ral. And further back, it's Karim. You know, keeping them very honest. I'm surprised by the pace of Karim. Dennis staying there as well on his super soft tyres. Ryan sort of in no man's land at the minute in P7, who's closely followed by Alessandro, about 2 seconds away from him. And for all those on the live stream at the minute, can you please leave your comments who you think will win this race? Will it be Steve? Will it be Harrison? Will it be Merishon? Or will it be someone else? I'd love to hear your insight on the race. And yeah, it has been an interesting race. The majority of the field on super soft tyres, bar Dennis, who obviously started on the softs. And if he does get to the end in P6, it'll be quite a race. I believe he also got P6 in Australia as well on the quick race. So yeah, closing the gap now, 1.4 to Karim. So maybe Dennis will be able to make up quite a few positions towards the end of the race. Got Ral into turn 3 or 4, depends how many you count. It's now 5.1 seconds to Karim gets a time penalty. It's now 5.5 seconds pretty much to Harrison in Merishon's Toro Rosso. So yeah, it will be interesting to see whether he can make it past or not, because Merishon is a very fast driver. You know, he's on to win the championship this year. And yeah, it will be interesting to see if anyone can make a challenge, because at the minute Merishon has seemed unstoppable, and that's genuinely he was going to be my teammate going into this season, but I ended up going to broadcasting. I'm enjoying it so far. For all those watching, you know, you can enjoy it. I won't be going anywhere anytime soon. As Merishon got Ryan, who's been doing a good job so far. P7 up from where I believe if he started he would have had a better race. He's been caught up where he doesn't need to be caught up. As yeah, Harrison did manage to match Merishon that lap, as he is now closing up to Steve. So maybe a late push here for Harrison, maybe getting a win on his I'm not sure what I'm talking about. I've just had a message in from Stan, his opening race. He's Merishton's friend, as far as I'm concerned. That's what I've been told as we watch this battle. He said, terrible performance to me, let me explain. Normally I drive with the traction control on, so that was already new for me. Then I realised the ERS deployment wasn't on auto, so I started managing that. Mid-corner I spun, then the tyres overheated, so spun several times, and I normally drive with pit assist. So, little explanation on Stan's situation. Today, Alessandro is out of the session. That might cause some mayhem. Not exactly sure what he's done. I can't imagine he's just retired out of nowhere. Sean in the pits. That promotes Yannick into a point-scoring position of P2. Yeah, Alessandro retiring from the session. He was he's disconnected. That's absolute disaster for Alessandro. He was running a decent race. He's left the session. That's not great, as now it's 3.5 seconds as Merishton does set the fast lap of the Grand Prix. It's 3.6 seconds now. So you can see Merishton, he sort of chips away, hangs back for a lap, chips away, and I believe it's a very effective strategy because it seems to be working as of late. He's doing well. So Simon up into P11, Sean P10, and I can confirm Hugo, if he finishes this race, or if someone retires, he if someone retires before, let's say someone, what I'm trying to get across is Hugo is scoring his first, not only his, but also Red Bull's first points of the season. So, yeah, there was obviously quite a lot of hype around Red Bull at the start of the season because they were going to get Billy. Billy ended up not being able to compete, so we had to search for another driver, in which Hugo came along, and he's done a good job, to be fair to him. He's done a good job. France isn't the easiest of tracks, and yeah, he's closing up on Ryan. He's about 4 seconds gap between the two of them right now. As now we look again to the front, 1.3 seconds separate the top two. There's 3.2 seconds back to Merishton. As there's, I was going to say I said there was half a second. I was wondering what was going on there. But yeah, it's Steve maintaining the lead. Raul, he's closed up wonderfully. He's done a good job today. Whether he can get the win or not, I'm not quite sure. As you can see, Harrison closing up between, through this middle sector. So we'll see if Harrison can make a move. You can see, if you think back to earlier on in the race, he wasn't the best at overtaking. He doesn't really like tucking in to the slipstream and going off track. Interesting strategy there for him. Not that he would have been close enough anyway, but just an interesting thing to say. I just want to point out, although it does look like it is, like he's on super soft tyres, I can confirm Harrison is not. He is on the soft tyres, and both Steve and Harrison have been on them for 11 laps. Meanwhile, Merishton has 4 lap fresher tyres. He's closing in. It's now 2.1 seconds to the cars ahead. It's not going to be, I can't imagine it be too easy for Merishton to get past these, but you can definitely see them you can see them in the sights, and I'm sure that he's just waiting for this to blow up. If it does, it will be absolute. It'll be Christmas come early for Merishton. But it doesn't look as if Harrison can get close to Steve through the middle sector, but he does seem to have the edge through sector 1. So you can see Merishton setting the fast lap of the Grand Prix. It's now just a second. Is the yellow flag in sector 2? Is there something up with anyone? I can't see anything so far. Could it? But yeah, I think Simon went for another spin. Disastrous race for him so far. It's not been a fun race, one to forget for Simon. So now we're on board looking through the halo here. Look, quite a nice view actually. I do like it personally. On board with Merishton as he runs through turn 1, turn 2. Harrison he's traditionally throughout this race, I've noticed that Harrison very good through sector 1, but not as good through sector 3. So yeah, it's funny to see the contrast of the two drivers, as now it's just 0.4 of a second separating Harrison and Steve. Will Steve be able to make a? Will Harrison be able to make a pop down the inside? He is in the slipstream, as possibly he's going to make a move. Doesn't come off there, as he's tucking behind. Martian, I don't think he's going full attack with these two getting rather frisky up ahead. Harrison sort of like a half-assed attempt down the inside, and nothing comes up of that. It's maybe not the smartest ideas. Now he's dropped back about half a second. Now there's 0.8 to Steve, as Steve panicking a little bit, as Merrigan getting a little bit all over the place. And just as I said earlier, we got time penalties for both Yannick and Sean simultaneously. As I said earlier, this race is going to spice up towards the end. Merrigan does need to get the pedal down, as there's only 3 laps left, including this one. So if he does get this win, he's my driver of the day. If he doesn't get this win, Steve's my driver of the day. That's what I'm calling. You can see again, Harrison closing up to Steve through the first sector. He's incredible through the first sector. Whether he'll be able to hold on to P1 in Steve's sake, we're not sure. Has there been another incident? Oh yes, that's Hugo. Hugo's gone for a spin. Yannick will close up to him. Has he lost the position? I don't think so. As we look further forward, we've got Harrison right on the back of Steve. And Steve will take the inside line. Harrison again, slow to tuck into the slipstream. As you can see on his little dashboard, he's very low on ERS deployment, so he won't be able to have it all. Simon sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Harrison not able to have a pop down the inside, as he's going to stick in P2 for the time being. And Merrigan does need to get his foot down if he wants this win. Bear in mind, at the minute he will gain points over his title rival Felipe and Ralph. Felipe not competing in this race. Big commitments outside Gprl, obviously. How dare he? Into the final corner now, Merrigan. Not too bad on traction, but just seemingly not able to get close enough to Harrison and Steve. There's 2 laps remaining. Can Steve get his maiden GPRL win, or can the likes of Harrison? As Merrigan gets a 3-second time penalty. Merrigan's got a time penalty, 4 warnings. We'll have to have a look at that. Yeah, very weird there. So that's going to add insult to injury to Harrison. As now, can Harrison finally get past Steve? As Harrison does go to tuck into the slipstream. He doesn't have much ERS again. Not great ERS management from the side of the Williams driver. Into the final corner, into the chicane now. I'm getting it all mixed up, but further back that's Merrigan, who may be able to get involved in this battle. Whether he'll be able to go down the inside or not, yet to be seen. He's going to go around the outside. This will be quite a move. Round the outside of the fast right-hander. Just about no contact there. As Merrigan, great move there, up into P2. He's right behind Steve now. And what Steve has to do, even if he does get overtaken, he's got to stay right on the back of Merrigan. As I'm not sure if he is aware or not, Merrigan does have a 3-second time penalty. I don't believe Steve does. So, yeah, going right down to the wire this race. Merrigan will have to have an absolute stunner of the final lap if he's going to be able to get this place. Setting it up through the final corner, quite nice traction. Not maximum ERS, I don't believe. You can see he's turned it down to no ERS. So you can see he's setting up the move for later, probably down the back straight. Or possibly even earlier, as Steve a little bit wide through turn 1 and turn 2. Still in none, so Merrigan has no plans to get the move done before the end of the first sector. As through the long left and then the 2 rights. Over the curb. Raul has a 3-second time penalty. Quite a few time penalties being picked up in this race. As now, Merrigan should have the win on track. But whether he has it actually after penalties or not is yet to see. Merrigan pulls around the outside. Great view here from Harrison. Harrison will be licking his lips, hoping he can get Steve. After this, he's got very What? Oh, that's Steve. Is Steve off? Steve is off. Yes, and awkward there from Merritt. Not quite sure what happened. Probably a bit of a tap. Maybe lost it under traction. But if things stay as they are, Merritt will have to pull out 3 seconds in the last sector, as Harrison does go quite wide there. You see Merritt, he's pushing it for all he's worth. Will Steve be able to make a move down the inside? As you can see, Harrison on his old soft tyres, very all over the place. As through the final few corners now, will Steve make a move? There's a little bit of contact. He's been turned around. He's been turned around there. That's definitely going to be a penalty for Steve. Be very hard to argue against it, as Steve does give the position back, so we'll have to, because he's done that. He's done a good job there. Merritt takes the lead. I believe that means Merritt takes the win. Somehow, it's been an absolute miracle for Merritt. I can't believe he's done that, as Yannick sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Wow. So, because of the turnarounds there and the accident, Merritt takes P1. That is quite incredible, that is. I can't quite believe that. But yeah, it was a good race. There was a bit of a lull in the middle, as I believe... Do we still have a battle going on here? No, we don't. No, we don't. Well, Denny's coming home to take P5. That's a good job from him, considering he started quite far down. Ral up in P4. Steve, he had a good race. Did the sportsmanlike thing to hand the position back at the end for P3. Harrison Gprl debut getting a podium. And Merritt somehow, apologies for my voice now, all those at the end of streams, it's dying, I do apologise. But Merritt, yeah, getting a good job from him there, I believe, just because... Yeah, Simon doesn't push for a fast lap at the end. And he does it? No, he doesn't. I'm going to say that's going to be quite a substantial penalty for Yannick to Right, so I'm finally getting some messages in from the drivers. Good race today. They all do seem to be in agreement. Steve does apologise to Harrison for the incident, and a good job from him for giving him the position back. As Merritt, again, can this man stop winning? He's won 3 out of 4 of the races so far this season. He seems to be perfectly on track. No pun intended. But he seems to be on course to win the championship if things stay his way. So you can see the final race results. Merritt, considering a 3-second time penalty, he did in fact get P1 from Harrison. Insult to injury, the fact that he would have got the win if it wasn't for that turn, for that contact. But you know, it's racing that happens sometimes. Memorable mentions. There was quite a few DNFs today. My driver of the day does go to Merritt, P10 on the grid and P1 at the flag. So thank you guys for watching this stream. We got a stream next week for the... No, we don't have a stream, I do apologise. No stream next week, but there should be one the week after. And yeah, see you guys next time.